Here's a couple tips when doing brake drums, or tips for when you have a spongy pedal. You have something going on that seems like a leak and you can't narrow it down. It's very important if you have drum brakes to pull off your brake drums and look for any signs of what we see here, which is moisture, wetness. And you can see that is the wheel cylinder there, and that's where the fluid's going to. When you apply the brake, the pressure comes into the wheel cylinder and it pushes out these two brake shoes up against the brake drum, and that's how the rear brakes work. There's not a lot of movement there, but these little wheel cylinders, if they're wet like that, that means you have a small hole. In this case, it's not even obvious. The reason I pulled these drums off is just to replace the shoes, but this wheel cylinder will have to be replaced. Over time it's going to get worse, and then you may not have brakes at all. But if you have a spongy pedal or something and you can't find a leak, you can look under the vehicle, look at your brake calipers in the front. You may not see a leak there. You look to the wheel cylinder, the back of the wheel cylinder, which would be this part here, if you can see. So these two bolts are holding the wheel cylinder in. There's the bleeder valve and the line. Sometimes when you have a leak, you can look to the back of the wheels and you'll see it, or you'll see it at the bottom of the drum, because if this is leaking, this wheel cylinder is leaking bad, it's going to leak down and then come out the bottom of the drum, and you'll see it. You'll see moisture here. It'll be wet here. In this case, it's such a small leak that it's not even introducing a lot of air into the lines, and you cannot tell that there's an obvious leak. So in this situation, I just happened to pull the drums off, but if I was looking for a leak because of a spongy pedal or something like that, and even if you don't have a leak, you may not notice it because it's so minuscule. Like something like this is going to still pull a little bit of air in the line. But the complaint on this customer vehicle was that the other side, the other wheel was locking up. I already fixed the drums over there, or the brake shoes, so now I'm on this side. And now we got to replace this wheel cylinder. Another tip I wanted to share is this. This is my sledge that I keep with me, and I use that for knocking brake drums loose or whatever. Now, this is a 3-pound sledge, and this drum was seized up on there so tight that I was destroying my back swinging that little sledge. So I had to borrow a sledge, and this is the one I used here. This is like for demolition. So normally a mechanic wouldn't carry this to just go do a brake job. But if you run into a problem where your drum is seized up and you cannot break it loose, a good sledge like the one I showed you is not going to work, and you need something like this where you can get a good swing on it and hit it hard. This is probably a 16-ounce sledge, but you're going to need something big like that, because I don't know how I would have got it off beat. I beat it with my small sledge, and it just was not doing the trick. And then when you're hitting it, you're going to hit it here and here, here, spin it. I got both wheels off the ground just so I could put this into neutral and spin it so I could get equal hits, because it was hard to get good clear hits without, messing up and hitting one of these studs. So I'm gonna go pick up this wheel cylinder and then start taking this apart. I want to take it apart now, but I want to make sure I remember exactly how these springs are set in here and how they go, and I want to do it as I take it off and put it right back on. Although I've already done the other side and I know how this is going to go, I still want to be sure. So in your case, if you're doing this for the first time, make sure you take lots of pictures and videos. Make sure you get every angle. You know, up under here, see where your springs are here, and your adjuster screw. The adjuster screw is only going to go in there one way, and this little piece goes up against it is what hits it to adjust it, to open it up more. And if you don't know, you can get to it from the back side. There's a hole back here. I don't know if I got it on video or not. There's a hole here. Oh, here it is. This one has a plug on it. So if you can see that plug, I don't know if you can see it, but you pop that plug off and you get a flathead, a wide flathead, short, and you get in there and tighten it up. One way is going to tighten it, one way is going to loosen it. But usually when you're tightening it, you'll hear it going click, click, click. So that's one way to do it. Once you put the drums on, you can use that adjuster screw like that to get the brake shoes as tight as possible. Because there's, like I said, there's not a lot of movement with this wheel cylinder. So we don't want it to be loose, we want it to be as tight as possible. If you hear the brakes rubbing up against the inside of the drum, that's what you want. You want it to spin freely. But if you get a little bit of rubbing, that's okay. That'll stop real quick. But that means that you have it nice and tight, and that when you apply the brakes, that little bit of movement is going to push those shoes out and apply pressure up against the inside of the drum to stop the wheel.